There's only one kind of boundary that a narcissist can't cross. No matter how hard he tries, what mask he puts on, or how many times he comes back, if you build it the right way, he simply shuts down. And it's not a verbal no, it's not blocking him. It's a psychic boundary, one that rises in your mind, your emotions, and your energy, and that he can feel without you having to say a single word. In this video, I'll show you how to build it, step by step, from the inside out, so that neither he nor anyone like him can ever get back in. Stay with me till the very end. You didn't come across this powerful video by accident. So go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. It's completely free for you, and it helps me out immensely. Share this video with someone you know who needs it. All right, let's begin. Step 1. How does a narcissist's psychic invasion work, and why do you not need physical contact to feel trapped? There are ties you don't need to see in order to feel. People who are no longer in your life but still live inside your thoughts, your memories, your guilt, your fear, your constant need to understand what you did wrong. And when that happens, you're not crazy. You're not weak. You're being psychically invaded. Because here's something most people are afraid to say. A narcissist doesn't need your body to manipulate you. He needs access to your mind, to your unresolved emotions, to your internal cracks, to your wounded self. And once he gets in, it's as if he can't leave. Even if he's physically gone, even if he no longer talks to you, even if you've already blocked him. Carl Jung explained it like this. What you do not make conscious becomes your destiny. And if you don't become conscious of how his energy is operating inside you, you'll keep thinking it was just another relationship, when in reality, it was a silent invasion of your deepest emotional system. Because a narcissist doesn't break in by force, he gets in with charm, with precise words, with phrases that tap into your need to be seen, validated, and loved. And once he hits that spot, that fragile place you yourself had forgotten about, he anchors himself there. Not as love, but as access, as a passcode to your vulnerability. And from there, he studies you, conditions you, makes you addicted, not to him, but to what he triggers in you. Because a narcissist doesn't feed on your body, he feeds on your need, your doubt, your guilt, on that moment when, without knowing why, you start questioning yourself, and suddenly you don't know who you are anymore. That is psychic invasion, a constant presence in your emotional field, a mental echo that haunts you, an energy that, even if you've blocked his number, still responds when you wonder, what if I had done something differently? And here's the harshest truth. The narcissist doesn't need to be present anymore, because he trained you to be him inside your own head. He taught you to talk to yourself the way he talked to you. He taught you to doubt yourself the way he planted doubt. He taught you to feel guilty over things that weren't even yours to carry. Now he doesn't have to do a thing, because you're doing it to yourself. That's the darkest part of this kind of bond. It doesn't end when he leaves. It ends when you remove his voice from your mind, when you cleanse your energy field, when you reclaim the psychic territory you unknowingly gave away. Let me tell you something that illustrates this perfectly. Juliana, 37, told me, "We're not together anymore. I blocked him, I left, I moved away, but I still can't sleep. I feel like he's inside my head. I think the way he used to think. I talk to myself the way he talked to me. I still feel like I owe him something." That's an invasion, not because he's some monster who cast a spell on you, but because from the beginning, he knew exactly how to slip into your cracks, how to make himself important, how to build a throne inside your unresolved needs. And now, in order to heal, it's not enough to stop seeing him. You have to build the only boundary he can't cross, the psychic one. But before that, you need to know where the door's still open. Because if you don't detect the access point, he'll keep getting in. And here comes the key revelation. The narcissist doesn't get in through your strengths. He gets in through where you still crave approval. And once he's in, he turns you into the guardian of his influence. You end up maintaining the emotional prison without even realizing it. So how do you know you're being psychically invaded? You think about him more than you want to, even when you don't mean to. You remember the bad things, but still miss them. You feel guilty even though you know he hurt you. You imagine conversations where he finally understands you. You feel that if you ran into him, something inside you would still break. That's not love. It's not a soul connection. It's not a bond. That's a psychic fracture, one that still hasn't healed. And that's why just putting distance isn't enough. You have to close the channel, because if you don't, he'll still sense it's open. And even if he never texts you again, he'll still carry you inside him as a point of power, as a button that still controls a part of your life force. And until you remove it, you'll stay connected to a frequency that no longer belongs to you. But don't worry, because in the next step, I'll show you how to identify the exact spot within yourself that he detected and you still haven't acknowledged. Because right there, that's where the real construction of the psychic boundary begins. One that stops him from the inside without you having to say a word. Step 2. Where are you open without realizing it? The energetic gaps. He detects before you do not. Everyone can get into your mind so easily. Not everyone manages to settle into your emotions as if they owned your nervous system, but a narcissist can. Why? Because before seducing you, he scans you. Before making promises, before talking about the future, before seeming perfect, he's already spotted something in you. An emotional crack that's still open, a blind spot, an unresolved emptiness. And he doesn't need you to say a word about it. He senses it, intuits it, smells it, because a narcissist doesn't connect with your soul. He connects with your wound. And that wound can be well hidden, even from yourself. You might believe you've already healed, but if you still need validation, if you have trouble setting boundaries without guilt, if fear of rejection creeps in, if you feel like you have to prove your worth to be loved, then there's still an open door in your psychic field, and he picks up on it instantly. Carl Jung once said that everything we deny within ourselves eventually shows up outside as fate. And that's exactly what a narcissist detects in you. The denied parts, the unseen parts, the parts still waiting for love to feel worthy. And that's where he gets in. But not as a threat. He enters as a savior, as a mirror, as the one who finally sees you, who finally makes you feel special. And without realizing it, you hand him the key. But don't blame him. The entry point isn't in him, it's in you. The access lies in what you haven't yet reclaimed as your own. What you're still hoping someone else will give back to you. Your worth, your voice, your self-love. And he doesn't use that as someone who wants to love you, but as someone who wants to possess the exact point where he can set up camp without being noticed. And he gets away with it because from your place of emptiness, you mistake his entrance for connection, when in fact it's installation. And here's the harshest part. The narcissist doesn't invade with force. He invades through your unconscious need. While you think you're experiencing something magical, he's already figuring out how to plant himself as a dominant figure in your unconscious mind. Let me show you what I mean with a real story. Sophia, 35, told me, with him, I felt something I'd never felt before. It was like he could read me, as if he understood parts of me that no one had ever touched. And that's exactly what trapped her. Not his love, but his ability to detect the part of her that had never been loved, and to use it to become indispensable. Because that's what they do. They don't fill your emptiness. They manage it. They give you small doses of what you need most, then take it away, so you'll come back for more. And that's not love. That's psychic dominance. Now, I want to show you the most common gaps a narcissist detects in you before you even see them yourself. The voids he sniffs out before you're aware of them. Fear of not being enough. If he senses that you're always trying to please, giving more than you receive, or justifying his absence, he knows you're willing to pay with your emotional energy just to feel chosen, and he'll use that. Constant need for validation. If he notices that you depend on his texts, gestures, or approval, he knows you'll hand over your emotional system just to feel seen again. That's where he sets up shop. Guilt for saying no. If he sees that you struggle to set boundaries, he knows he can cross them, and you'll be the one explaining why you let him. Unintegrated wounds from the past. If he senses that you still speak with pain about your exes, your childhood, your self-worth, he knows he can touch those wounds gently, then manipulate you with emotional knives. And the hardest part? He doesn't even do this consciously. He's not walking around saying, "I'm going to destroy her." He simply feeds on what you haven't yet claimed as yours, and that nourishment is your psychic energy. That's why it's not enough to know you don't want him anymore. It's not enough to ignore him or block him. You have to close the internal channel through which he keeps entering. And that channel is your wound that still hasn't been embraced. The part of you still waiting for someone else to give it permission to feel worthy. Until you close that door, you'll keep emitting the exact frequency that draws in someone just like him. Because you can push a man away physically, but if you're still open emotionally and energetically, someone else will come take his place. But here's the hopeful part. That wounded part of you doesn't need to be hidden. It needs to be recognized, integrated, and loved by you. And when you do that, when you embrace it, when you no longer look for someone else to validate it, that's when the channel closes. And when it closes, he feels it. Even if he looks for you again, he can't get in because you're not the same. Your wound no longer emits hunger. It emits sovereignty. And that a narcissist cannot digest. Step 3. The real psychic boundary, how it's built from within, not just with words. Let me pause quickly to ask something from the heart. I'd be incredibly grateful if you'd subscribe to the channel. That's what allows me to keep creating these heartfelt messages. And the best part? It's completely free for you. Go ahead and subscribe, and let's continue with the most powerful part yet. There are boundaries we speak out loud, but our soul doesn't back them up. And there are other boundaries we never say, but they're felt like an invisible wall no one dares to cross. And narcissists know how to tell the difference. Because more than what you say, they pick up on the vibration of your emotional presence. You can tell him, "I don't want to see you again," but he'll still know if he can get in. Why? Because he doesn't sense a real boundary. He only hears the words, and words don't stop him. What stops him is the psychic energy that stands behind those words. Carl Jung said that the unconscious doesn't respond to logic. It responds to symbol. And a psychic boundary isn't a physical wall. It's an internal vibrational symbol that sends a clear message without needing contact or explanation. There's no access for you here. Not to my mind, not to my energy field, not to my soul. And the narcissist feels that. He doesn't analyze it. He doesn't interpret it. He feels it as a complete disconnection from his control because he doesn't need your body. He needs access to your active emotionality. To that open channel you gave him when you still hope to be loved through his validation. So how do you build a real psychic boundary? Not with shouting, not with threats, not with forced distance. You build it with an internal decision, a silent shield that settles into your vibrational field. A reprogramming that says without words, "I'm no longer available," not physically, not emotionally, not psychically, not even in memory. And that's not easy. Because a narcissist doesn't just infiltrate your present. He clings to your past, to your memories, to your idealizations. That's why the boundary isn't built only moving forward. It reaches backward too, to what you lived, what you believed, what you hoped for. It becomes a wall that cuts through emotional time. I'm going to show you how to build it on 3 levels. Level 1, mental reprogramming. Your thoughts no longer name him. Stop repeating the story. Stop retelling what he did. Stop trying to make sense of what never made sense. Your mind has been his biggest stage, and every time you mention him, you give him back power. This isn't about denying what happened. It's about no longer recycling it as the centerpiece of your story. Replace the victim narrative with one of awareness. I was invaded because I had no wall, but today I do, and no one gets in without being seen first. Level 2, emotional recoding. Your wound no longer calls him. Anytime you feel the emotion he used to trigger in you, don't suppress it, but don't associate it with him either. That emotion isn't his. It's yours. It's old. He merely touched it, but he doesn't own it. Feel the fear, the anger, the sadness as energy that needs to move, not energy to be handed over. Don't allow your emotional channel to open because of him. Open it to empty yourself out, to cleanse, to integrate, and then close it again with self-love. Level 3, Vibrational reconstruction. Your energetic field no longer allows him in. This is the most silent level and the most powerful. It's when your body stops reacting to his name, his voice, or even the idea of his presence. And that only happens when you raise your internal frequency high enough that you're no longer vibrating at the level where he can exist. How do you know you've reached this point? You're no longer waiting for him to come back. You no longer wonder what you'd do if you saw him. You don't feel the need to prove you're doing better. You no longer respond, neither from your wound nor from your anger. You simply are, and he no longer has the access code. Because the woman you used to be no longer exists, and not because you changed to run away, but because you woke up. That is a true psychic boundary. It's not a wall you can see, it's a frequency you can feel. It's an energetic field where his manipulation bounces off, where his game no longer works. And the best part? You don't have to explain it. He knows. He feels it. He senses it. And when he tries to come back, he's met with a not anymore that doesn't need to be said, because now he's not just out of your life, he's out of your field. And for a narcissist, that is the greatest loss of all. In the next step, I'll show you the silent signal that shuts him down, the vibrational frequency that causes him, even if he tries to return, to lose the desire to manipulate you. And when that happens, you'll know your boundary is no longer a decision, it's a presence. Step 4. The signal that shuts him down. How to make him lose interest without a fight. There's a reaction in the narcissist that doesn't get triggered when you confront him, or when you scream, or expose him, or block him. That reaction only happens when there is nothing left in you that wants to prove anything to him. Because if there's one thing the narcissist needs to stay alive inside you, it's you continuing to play the game, wanting to explain something, prove something, win something. The moment you no longer want to be right, that's when he starts to fade. Not because he changed, but because he no longer has anything to hold on to. Carl Jung said, "What you resist persists, but what you integrate transforms." And that applies to how a narcissist keeps himself alive inside you. As long as you're in emotional resistance, even if it's to defend yourself, he stays active. But when you're no longer in battle mode, when you don't even expect him to understand, his game loses all meaning. His presence starts to dim. And that's when the silent signal that shuts him down is born. It's not a phrase, it's not a gesture. It's not some external act. It's a code your energy field transmits without you saying a word. I have nothing left to give you. Not attention, not emotion, not conflict, not a single drop more of what once drained me. And when that becomes real, not forced, not faked, not acted, the narcissist senses it, and his system collapses. Because now there's no more tension, no more energy to pull, no more fuel for his game. And he who lives off of that suddenly finds himself staring into a blank mirror. And since he can't stand that, he runs, not because he's won, but because there's no longer a game to play. Let me tell you something real. Camilla, 40, told me, I spent months blocking him, yelling, crying, writing texts I never sent, until one day I didn't want anything anymore. No explanations, no justice, no revenge, just silence. And not a silence to punish him, a silence because there was simply nothing left to say. And you know what happened. Not only did he stop reaching out, but for the first time she began to sleep, to eat without anxiety, to think without panic, because the disconnection didn't come from her phone. It came from her field. It came from a peace he could no longer disturb, because he no longer lived inside her. And that peace is the signal that shuts him down. Not anger, not rage, not confrontation. Peace. And I want you to understand this clearly. A narcissist doesn't fear your strength. He fears your true indifference. Not the fake kind, not the kind on social media, not the kind where you pretend you're doing fine so he'll see it. I'm talking about the kind of indifference that comes from no longer needing to control anything. Not his return, not his opinion, not his validation, not his story, because that unsettles him. That takes away the emotional chessboard, and he doesn't know how to play alone. His power was always in your response. even if it was anger. His connection fed off your doubt, your questions, your waiting, your, why did he do this to me? But when you're no longer there, when your life no longer revolves around his energy, he loses his gravity and he disappears. Now I want to show you how to activate that signal in your real life, how to project the vibrational message that turns him off without saying a single word. 1. Respond from emptiness, not from drama. If he writes to you, if he reappears, if he throws out some emotional bait, respond if you want, but from a neutral, calm place, without reaction, as if you were talking to a stranger. Not to hurt him, but because you simply have no emotional charge left to give. And if you don't want to respond, even better, because no response is already a response, and it's the one that disarms him the most, especially when he was counting on you still vibrating for him. 2. Stop seeking emotional justice. Don't expect him to understand what he did. Don't wait for him to regret it or to finally give you what he never could. You don't need that anymore, because the real justice is that he no longer has you. And even if he never says it, he feels it. That emptiness, that loss, that ending he didn't choose, that's the only punishment his ego truly can't digest. 3. Anchor your new identity. When you stop being the woman who waited, who doubted, who explained, and become the woman who chooses herself, even if that means letting go of what she once loved, your energy changes, your face changes, your aura resets. And there's no way for him to get in, because the channel he used to enter through no longer exists. It was demolished, and you've rebuilt yourself. And when that happens, when you stop broadcasting emotional signals toward him, something in his mind collapses. Not because he doesn't want to keep playing, but because there's no board left. You're no longer on that frequency. He'll try one last time. Maybe he'll cast the hook disguised as closure, a friendly chat, or even forgiveness. But now, you see it. And when you see it without emotion, when his game no longer entangles you, when his presence no longer stirs you, you've already won, without saying a word, without revenge, simply by projecting a signal that says, without needing to say it, there's nothing here for you anymore. Pay close attention to what's coming next. 5th step, how to protect yourself from relapsing. Hold your power. When he tries to come back with a new mask, a narcissist doesn't always leave for good, and rarely leaves peacefully. He doesn't understand what it means to truly close a chapter. He doesn't accept that he no longer has power over you. That's why so many come back. But they don't return the same way. They don't come back with the same face, the same attitude. They return as a seemingly changed version. More calm, more aware, more respectful, sometimes even more spiritual, with new words, with speeches that sound like they were lifted from your own meditations, with phrases that sound like growth. But don't be fooled. That's not always a new version of him. Sometimes it's just a new mask over the same old pattern. And if you're not prepared, if you haven't fully closed that cycle from the inside, you might fall for it. Not because you love him, but because there's still a part of you that wants to believe he's changed, that this time it's different, that now he finally understands. But that is the trap, because he's not coming back to give you peace. He's coming back to regain control. And if you can't hold your power when that happens, everything you've built can crumble in an instant. Carl Jung said, "The shadow doesn't go away, it must be integrated." And you're not here to keep chasing light in someone who only activates your darkness. You're here to recognize your wound, protect it, and not hand it over again disguised as hope. Because there's a very thin line between giving someone a second chance and handing yourself back over to the same cycle dressed up as a promise. And now that you've done the deep work, you've cleared him out emotionally. You've shut down the access points. You've stopped broadcasting energy toward him. Now it's time to seal your field, to shield it, to make it unbreachable. And that doesn't happen through just a decision. It happens through integration. A fusion of your mind, your emotion, and your energy all emitting one single truth. I'm not going back to the place where I lost myself, even if now you say you're different. Let me tell you a real story. Valentina, 41, told me, Gabriel came back after months. He seemed different, calmer, more aware. He even talked to me about his therapy process. For a moment, I believed him. And by the second month, I was doubting myself again. Watching what I said, afraid of upsetting him, starting to feel small again. But this time it hurt twice as much, because I knew I'd already healed. So what happened? It wasn't that he dragged her back in, it was that she let her guard down. And her unprotected wound began emitting the exact same frequency that invited him back. Because yes, you can heal, but if you don't protect what you've healed, an old energy in a new form can still trap you, and that can't happen again. Now I'll show you how to protect yourself emotionally, mentally, and vibrationally when he comes back with a new strategy. First, be suspicious of change without evidence. Pretty words aren't growth, they're tactics. A man who's truly transformed doesn't talk about his change. He shows it with actions that aren't designed to win you back, but to make amends. If all he wants is to talk, to tell you things, to promise, to hint, but nothing he does is structurally different, then he hasn't changed. He's just adapted to get back in. Second, confirm your change through your reaction. Does his message shake you? Does it make you anxious? Do you start thinking about him during the day? Do you feel an emotional opening that you hadn't felt in weeks? That's not love. That's an alarm bell. It means your body still recognizes him, and you need to remind it, not anymore. Don't repress the emotion, but observe it. And then, don't respond from it. Respond to yourself. Third, hold your standard, even when it hurts. Yes, it can hurt. Yes, it can stir up old feelings. Yes, it can make you feel nostalgic. But when you hold your emotional boundary even while feeling, you're teaching your nervous system that you're no longer the woman who gives herself away for the first pretty speech. You're the woman who protects herself with awareness, even if it means being alone for a little while longer, because you're not alone. You're whole. Fourth, connect with your future self. The woman you're becoming doesn't need to reopen a wound that already took so much to heal. Don't look at him from your current emptiness. Look at him from your future fullness. Visualize yourself 6 months from now, confident, calm, free of his energy, and ask yourself, would she open this door again? The answer is right there, and your body already knows it. And now comes the final revelation of this entire process. True healing isn't shown in how you let him go. It's shown in how you don't let him back in when he returns. Even if you once loved him. Even if you waited for him. Even if, for a moment, your wound wants to trust again. You are not the woman who falls twice. You are the woman who has already seen the pattern, who has already recognized the shadow. You've already done the work. And if he comes back, all he'll find is a closed door, a calm heart, and a mind that no longer belongs to him. Because when a narcissist tries to return, and you don't even open the door to argue, to explain, or to hear him out, that is the real ending. Not the day he left, but the day he came back and you were no longer available for his new disguise. And that breaks him more than your silence ever could. Because the love that didn't chase him is the one that disarms him the most. And you, from today forward, are not the woman he can win back. You are the woman he never should have touched. It wasn't your silence that disarmed him. It was the fact that, when he returned, he no longer found the same woman. He didn't find fear. He didn't find need. He didn't find anger. All he found was a threshold that no longer opened, and a presence that no longer needed him to feel whole. Because when you build a true psychic boundary, you're no longer just saying no. You're radiating a truth so clear that it doesn't even need defending. Comment below, now my mind is sacred ground too. Let that phrase become the seal of your transformation, because from now on, you won't be the woman who reacts to every attempt. You'll be the woman who knows herself, who protects herself, and who never again opens the door to her soul for someone who only knew how to use it as a battlefield. And if he ever thinks of you again, let him do it from the distance you chose to keep, from the emptiness you chose to seal, from the power he will never be able to control again. And if this message resonated with you, I invite you to leave a powerful like, subscribe, and make sure to turn on the notification bell. But above all, don't leave just yet. There's so much more waiting for you. Dive into the other videos here on the channel and keep expanding your energy and your power. I'll see you in the next video.